second video of the apple dumpling game. And the first video involved darts. But today we're going to be making a flaky pie crust. And since we have no budget, the chef will be adorning an apron. And since I am so good at volunteering my grandsons, I have a good-looking grandson here to tie my apron for me. And this is Jack.
Hello.
Not too tight. And my chef's cap didn't arrive, so I will have to adorn my baseball hat. And now we're ready to make flaky pie crust. And we'll begin, and I'm going to make two separate pie crusts, two separate bowls. So our recipe is for 3 cups of flour. So I'm going to put 1.5 cups of flour in each bowl. And leveling it out, because with pie crust, you have to be very specific with your measurements. So there's 1 cup in each, and now 1/2 cup. In each one. And that's step 1. Now our next step is our salt. And you want to use regular Morton's iodized salt. And it's a teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon in each bowl. If you use kosher salt, it will make your pie crust a little crunchy in places, which you don't want. And then we'll just mix this up with our flour. And our next step is a cup of butter. And you want to use very cold butter. And by the miracle of video, I've cut the butter up, 1/2 cup in each bowl. And I will grab a fork and stir this in. And this needs to be refrigerator cold. And another cup, 1/2 cup in this one. And our next step will be Crisco. So not only do we have butter that makes it flaky, but we'll put in the Crisco, and that will make it adhere better to your dish. And I'll cut this in half, and in goes the Crisco. Now, you can either take a pastry blender, which I have a pastry tool that we can use to blend up our pie crust. or you can use a fork, whichever works the best. Now that we have our pie crust mixed, we're going to add an egg. And what I'll do is just, since I'm making a pie crust in each bowl, I'm just going to mix up just beat up my egg. Till it's nice and fluffy. And I'm going to add half to one of the pie crusts and half to the other. And also, we need a tablespoon of white vinegar. So I am going to use my half teaspoon. So we've got our half a tablespoon in one and a half a tablespoon in the other. Now, our last ingredient is ice water. So we want to put in, calls for 5 tablespoons of ice water. So we're going to start with 2 in each. And I will have Jack come back and help me. Now we want to just keep mixing this up till we have a nice consistency. Just stir it with a fork, sweetie, and I'll have you hand me a fork.
Okay.
Okay, this is the last step before we put it in the refrigerator. And so we'll take a break, and right now you can sit down and have a glass of wine because you need it at this point. Now that we have our pie dough all mixed, we're gonna dump it onto the wax paper and form it into a disc. And we'll take the disc and put it in the refrigerator for an hour to set until we roll it out. But you can also freeze this disc. So if you're not gonna use this pie right away, you can freeze it and then thaw it out, and it takes about a day and a half in your refrigerator. I mean, if you're gonna make a pie, Nick, right? You might as well make 2 crusts when you get into this big mess. You might as well make 2 crusts.
Oh yeah.
There we go. This is our last step. I took the disc, which has been in the refrigerator for an hour, and you just take an old tea towel, and if you don't have an old tea towel, just a piece of parchment paper will work, but it's kind of slippery on your counter. And then just flour your tea towel generously and roll, and take your rolling pin and dust it with flour. There we go. Now I'm going to, this is the tricky part, is rolling it out. And we just want to start in the middle and just keep rolling it out. And then we can turn your cloth and keep rolling. And you want to make it at least 10 inches around. And just keep turning your cloth until you have your pie crust all rolled out. And then I'm going to kind of test to see that's plenty big enough. So I'll now transfer. I can roll up my pie dough onto my rolling pin gently. And then I will just transfer it onto my pie dish. And you see, we have a few little holes, more than a few little holes. And we can just put it back together. And easily just pick it up, and this always happens to me, so if it happens to you, not to worry. It's going to be a little rustic, but that's okay. Just going to push it in. Be sure you have no holes. And then that looks pretty good. Now we're just going to start and crimp it. 2 fingers and push in all the way around. It will be very soft. Your pie dough will be very soft. And just go all the way around your dish. And you'll probably be much neater at this than I. Okay, and there's your flaky pie crust, and it'll be delicious. Now all we have to do is bake it. Now you can use this to make a lemon meringue pie, but first you would have to bake it if you're making a lemon meringue pie or any kind of a custard pie. But today I'm making a pumpkin pie, and by the magic of video, we have a pumpkin pie. There we go. There's your pumpkin pie. Enjoy, and as Julia Childs would say, bon appetit.